We met in church and we were very close friends. We even verbally planned to get married. One day he broke up with me over text, saying that he realized that this was a mistake and he felt that I was not the one for him.
My ex and I are in the same cell group, and we started dating when we were in upper sec. We had close mutual friends and served together in many ministries.
As we grew older, my preferences and needs in a long-term partner began to change. After dating for a number of years, we broke up.
Despite my leaders knowing about the breakup, they didn't approach me to ask how I was doing until I brought it up first. It left me feeling insecure about how they viewed me as a leader. I felt like I had to go the extra mile to prove that I was still emotionally capable and mature enough to continue serving.
But something that encouraged me a lot were the youth members who didn't treat me any differently from before. They didn't walk on eggshells around the topic but treated me as my own person and individual, not the girl who broke up with XX. I think what stood out in this story for me is that their, in that sense, criteria list changed, and as I grew older, they realized that they had a lot of growing spiritually to do first before the relationship could actually even get any further or maybe have a chance of getting back later. Yeah.
I think what stood out to me was, the walking on eggshells part. I'm guilty of being the people who would make it awkward for like a person who just broke up. And I think, it's not really taught, how we're supposed to respond to people grieving a breakup or a loss, right? And I believe it takes two hands to clap in a sense. While yes, the community can definitely do a lot better in supporting youths who've gone through breakup. I think people who go through breakups can also, it's okay to tell people, hey, you're being awkward around me, just ask me, ask me a question. I'm okay to be asked. If you're open, it gives us access to you, and it gives us, the understanding of where we can come in as a community to support you.
My ex and I dated for 4 years, but she wasn't a believer until 2 years into the relationship. In the first year of our relationship, I almost cheated on my ex. I didn't do anything, but I would count it as emotional cheating.
I confessed to my ex, and that really shook the foundation of our relationship. Looking back, I really wasn't ready for a relationship, but because I felt bad towards my ex, I couldn't bring myself to break up with her. Eventually, she decided to end things off with me because she felt she couldn't bring herself to love me anymore.
After the breakup, my cell group was very supportive. They wrote me a card and hung out with me. My leaders checked up on me and see how I was doing, and they continued to watch out for me. Even though this experience was a roller coaster, which I never wish to be on again, the event shaped who I am today. This was also a season where I experienced firsthand the love and support from the community that the church always talks about.
My ex, however, didn't really connect with the members in her cell group. She has left church since then. I can't say that it was because of the breakup that caused this, but I would think that was a contributing factor. I do feel regretful for the pain that I've caused her. Wow, so this one is a real roller coaster.
Something that stood out to me is how his ex, felt disconnected from the community and ended up leaving church. I think this is very real. Relationships can bring you to church, it can also lead you away from church, sadly.
Honestly, I would understand why it's difficult to love this person. And it's easy to run out of love for this person. I think that's when love has to show up in other forms. Love from cell group members, love from cell leaders. I think ultimately church is a place for sinners, not saints. But I think dating just has to be done well, in the same way that I think many churches nowadays do premarital classes or premarital counseling. I think churches should spend time also on pre-dating talks, just something to help their youth, I think, understand what the point of dating is.
My ex and I were from the same school and cell group. We were in a relationship for about a month, but we were quite secretive about it.
When our leader found out about us, she felt that we were not ready for a relationship and suggested that we break up because we were too young and were still in school. I was 22 and she was 20. One night, my ex called me and told me that we have to break up after she spoke to our leader again.
Because people were not supposed to know about the relationship, whenever my cell members asked why I looked so down, I couldn't really tell them what happened and how I felt. So I had to deal with the breakup on my own.
My ex was better supported because the leader who broke up was a female leader. For me, I was only asked simple questions like, "How are you doing?" from leaders who knew of what happened. No one really sat through with me post-breakup.
Two things caught my eye. The first one was how the couple was initially secretive. So I feel that when you begin a relationship, it's also good to have the end in mind, whether it ends in marriage or otherwise. So if you begin a relationship that is secretive, do think about the consequences, what happens at the end of your relationship.
Yeah, I felt quite sad for him. It looked like the leaders were not very supportive in the sense that, they wasn't there to really help the couple exactly through the breakup process, and it was more like, oh, I break means must break.
I actually feel like the cell leader should primarily just be there to support the individual, as in if they really decide that they want to continue with this relationship, I feel like it is their prerogative. But whatever it is, whether it ends in a breakup, the cell leader should be there to support, to ask questions, to provide that listening ear or shoulder to cry on.
I used to be a youth leader and I saw a lot of leadership advice about breaking up. It was very standard issue, follow protocol, let's keep you apart for 3 to 6 months and you all go pray about it, and then if you still feel that the Lord is bringing you together, then sure, come together. I mean, what does a 16-year-old know about that, right? Like, how would they, they don't have the tools to really process that. I wouldn't say a 20-year-old has better tools, but I think sometimes it's talking to them more about emotional health than the subject matter at hand, rather than go on super high alert, put all your protocols in right now. It's so much panic for something that was once a beautiful process for these people, and it shouldn't be turned into a disease overnight, a cancer that needs to be operated out. I think there needs to be so much more grace, that breakups don't need to happen within 5 minutes. One should process, understand why. This really helps them learn for the next relationship, right?
We met in church and we were very close friends. We even verbally planned to get married.
One day, he broke up with me over text, saying that he realized that this was a mistake and he felt that I was not the one for him. People in church started talking about the breakup and speculating about what happened.
Thankfully, I was able to be completely transparent and real about my struggles with the girls in my cell group.
They checked on me regularly, and their steadfast but quiet presence was something that I cherish a lot, even until today.
This verbal plan of getting married really stands out. I personally think it's quite irresponsible. I think the goal of dating is to really pursue clarity, and this was not clarity. Yeah, thankfully, I guess she had some real friends, in cell group, which I think is what someone needs in a breakup. Maybe just a shoulder to cry on or listening ear.
I think what's also important is they didn't trash him, in the breakup. They didn't say he's horrible and you're better off and all that. I think they respected the season, that it was a good season, there was definitely good in it, and I think that's what's more helpful, rather than helping me hate the person.
I think what stood out to me in the story is that it's really true that sometimes we like to celebrate all these successful love stories, but when it doesn't work out, or we start talking oh, what did they do wrong, or why did it go wrong, what happened, and then we start stirring the pot. The church has to be a safer space where we respect couples, we respect breakups. Sometimes I think it's good that we see these breakups as, hey, maybe there is a better route. I think it's important to look to the next thing and be supportive of that friend and be like, hey, now that this has happened, let's see what God has in store for you, and finding God's purpose for you.
I think the stigma is also the idea of a breakup is terrible. It's a terrible thing. Don't put other things in a pedestal in the process of grieving alongside a person, because the loss of the potential of a marriage or the potential of a relationship is sad, but it's okay to also be single, you know, and that's something the church can also reassure young women and men out there.
How can you have depression? You were always so happy. Some people didn't know I was battling with depression because it can't always be seen.
God, how could you let this happen, you know? Like, I'm even serving you, I'm doing all this, why? How could you?